All right, everybody, it's Saturday night, Sunday morning, and you know what time that is. That's time for the weekly Creepy Little Book live stream. And this week, I've got a special guest with me. That would be Bill Madon. Am I saying that right, Bill?
Madon.
Bill Madon, I apologize. Bill Madon of the NightTerrors channel. I don't know if you guys are familiar with his work, but you pretty well damn should be. I'm a big fan of it, predominantly because, like this channel, your channel was inspired by fantastic classic television series, one that a lot of us grew up with, The Twilight Zone. And you really do a great job channeling your inner, your inner Twilight Zone. Like, it's just, it's fantastic. Your delivery, like, it's just,
thank you, Peter.
It's phenomenal. And well, tonight, we're going to talk about a topic that has been hot for the last 6 months. One, there's been a lot of interesting information about. Bill's done some work on this topic, as well as myself. You may have seen Bill's fantastic video concerning organism 46B. That was the. Why don't you tell everybody about that video that you did regarding that topic?
Well, it's about a creature that's found underneath the Antarctic ice cap. The largest,
this was a shape-shifting thing, right?
Yeah. Shape-shifting creature.
So, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
There's a number of freshwater lakes underneath the ice cap, and they're liquid because of all the pressure of the ice on top of them. And this Russian team drilled down to the largest of these lakes, Lake Vostok. As a matter of fact, the Russian station is built right over Lake Vostok, and discovered this creature.
So, and this creature was part of an overall kind of milieu of myth and legend that have started springing up around the frozen continent since like late last year. In December, we started to see these kind of stories leaking out one by one. Now, we just kind of rehash some of the stuff that we already know. There's been the story about Buzz Aldrin, of course, encountering that trouble when he was down in Antarctica, where he had to be medevaced out. You know, this raises the question: what was a man that old doing down in Antarctica to begin with? Likewise, John Kerry travels down there during the election, making him the highest-ranking U.S. official to ever visit the continent. Very strange that he would go during an election. Plus, we had the story about the Ark of Gabriel being moved by the Russians to Antarctica. So all in all, this combined with organism 46B, and then the talk of ancient ruins discovered down there, ties to Atlantis. This has been very fertile ground for, these various topics. Did something happen in the stream?
I'm good.
Okay, I need to change something around here. There we go. Sorry about that. My monitor was playing tricks on me. I was worried that we were gone for a second. Okay, so, Bill, I'm sure you've had your kind of finger to the pulse of this Antarctica stuff ever since it's been kind of unfolding. I think anybody who's been, around, this area of research since these stories kind of broke, couldn't escape hearing the little bits and pieces of this stuff coming out of here. Now, what's your take kind of been on this all along? Generally on your show, you play it really straight, and like myself here, we kind of do a non-biased approach. Do you have any personal inclinations towards what you might think is going on down there?
No, I just report.
And that's great. That's. I mean, I really respect that. That's fantastic. And then we need more people who are doing that. Journalistic integrity is something that is totally lost here. There's people in the alternative media like yourself who are keeping that alive, and that's one thing I think people really appreciate. So, from my perspective, I've looked at this from every angle. We've seen reports concerning different extraterrestrial species that are alleged to be down there. We see reports of possible capture of the organism 46B, But I received now. I know, Bill. I'm sure that this happens with you pretty often as well. I'll be contacted from people who want to share information, and generally they want to do so anonymously. And in the case of Antarctica, because I've done several videos on the topic, I've had people reach out to me looking to share information or point me in different directions. So I think what I wanted to do today was kind of take a look at some of these different bits of information I've been fed, kind of go over that. And I know Bill's been doing parallel research in this regard as well. That's kind of why we were picking this topic for tonight. And we'll kind of pick apart what some people have been suggesting and see how that kind of lines up with real life facts that we know. So first, Bill, you're familiar with the Black Knight satellite, correct?
Yes.
Did you am I correct in you did do a video regarding that topic?
Not yet, but
Okay.
It's an interesting topic.
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic. I haven't done a video on it myself either. And I'm sure a lot of people in the comments are familiar with this topic, but we'll just kind of go over this. So the Black Knight supposedly, I forget exactly how old people suggest it is. I don't know. Do you know that offhand?
Yes. Who knows?
Yeah. So it's supposed to be like a kind of like is a tracking device or some kind of surveillance. I think predominantly I come across the idea that it's surveillance. Would you kind of agree with that? Some kind of surveillance device?
Sure.
So what I was kind of looking at, somebody pointed me towards a 1979 event. And this supposedly took place off the eastern coast of Antarctica. Let me kind of pull up some of these bits of information I have here. There was something called the Vela incident that occurred in 1979. And I don't know, Bill, did you get a chance to kind of look over some of that information?
The one that I really did the most research on was the nuclear explosion one. That one was really interesting.
Right. Now that's exactly where we're at now, the Vela incident. So in 1979, there were two bright flashes off the eastern coast of Antarctica or directly above Antarctica, but there were two bright flashes recorded. History kind of notes the Vela incident. It's commonly believed to have been a joint nuclear exercise between Israel and South Africa, detonating a nuclear weapon somewhere in the Arctic Circle. But what this kind of pointed me in the direction of was the possibility that some of the environmental changes that we've seen since the late 70s, how drastically it went from, in the 1970s, weren't they claiming it was going to be another ice age coming or something?
Right.
Right. So we never got that other ice age. Then we got into the idea of global warming, which now they call climate change. So they kind of rebranded the thing over and over again. But, it goes quickly from the 1970s was approaching ice age to global warming. And I think what makes that change, well, one of these sources, a well-vetted source that contacted me, who works for a large unnamed company, pointed me in the direction of this incident and suggested that what had occurred here was a signal was directed towards a device in Antarctica, causing this device to activate. So from here, it's alleged that this device's purpose was terraforming. And I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, obviously, climate change has been something that's been definitely promoted, and public awareness has been greatly raised about the topic since the 1970s, of course. We had the anti-nuclear power movement. That was big during the 70s and 80s, absolutely. So let's go by this premise. Let's take a look at this. What if everything we've already been told about Antarctica is absolute disinformation? And I mean, Bill, how often do you think you run across disinformation in your research?
I think most of the disinformation is in the political area. I don't find much of it in the paranormal.
Yeah,
In the political, there's way too much of it. We were talking about that earlier.
Would you say that when it comes to the paranormal, that there's kind of a burden of proof that isn't necessarily required in the political realm?
That's an interesting question. A burden of proof. I don't look at it like that. I think that the burden of proof is probably more on the political side, but I don't really deal with the politics very much.
Yeah, I tend to shy away from current events myself, but I would feel like as somebody who, if I were involved in paranormal research, I think most of paranormal researchers' goals either kind of fall in one of two categories. There's people that are trying to catch evidence. They want to come back with that proof, definitive proof, you know? And then you have other people, I guess, who are more involved in what we call light work, you know?
No, what do you mean by light work?
I guess people who help spirits cross over, that kind of, mediums who help maybe a family who's been afflicted by a haunting. They might come in and help the spirit cross over. So that kind of, for me, seems to be where a lot of the paranormal falls into one of those two categories. You got guys hunting for proof, and you have people who are kind of more on a spiritual side, looking to help these spirits cross over to the other side.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's that's just from my perspective, kind of absorbing this kind of material over the years. But I think with this Antarctica stuff, what we have been seeing is colossal disinformation. This, first of all, I want to say that a lot of the stuff I get contacted with is not generally topics that I deal with because they would relate to very current events. And Antarctica tends to be the only current event I'm on most of the time, and end time stuff. How about you, Bill? Do you feel like you do what's your kind of process when you're selecting topics?
Well, for me, it's as I'm sure it is for you, it's a struggle.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
But basically, I research what everyone else is doing. I'll admit it. I look for what's really popular, but not just what's popular, but what's starting to get to a new thing that's starting to get a lot of views.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's definitely, you're staying ahead of the curve, and you're one of the best ones out there doing that. I honestly think so. I just love your format. It's fantastic because it's so easy for people to step up and just kind of copy paste something from Bibliotheca Pleiades into a program and run music behind it. But you're taking the time, and it shows in your work. And I really think that everybody needs to check out what you do, you know, because it's setting a new standard. Like you're
not too shabby yourself, Pete.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I'm just going to digress from the Antarctica topic for a minute because I want to kind of talk to this about you. I think that we're probably both guys who had interest in similar programs growing up. Obviously, Twilight Zone, Outer Limits. I was a big fan of Land of the Giants. I liked all that kind of Nick at Night rerun sci-fi kind of stuff. I was always a big fan of Ripley's Believe It or Not with Jack Palance, or Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World In Search Of, which is a huge inspiration for what I do. I just don't have money for reenactors and costumes. But, I think that this information has always been really captivating. And I think what you do, where you try to ride the wave of the crest of the wave, you're really like, that's out on the front lines, because that really has a chance to grip people who aren't really looking for this kind of information, but it'll catch that interest of someone who might catch it in passing and open their eye up to a whole new world of possibilities. And regarding possibilities, I want to go back to the topic of Antarctica. Now, Bill, are you familiar with the Ark of Gabriel, that whole story?
No, I am not.
All right. Well, basically, this story as it goes is that a object was discovered under Mecca, and it gave off some kind of discharge that killed the workmen who found it while they were digging for some kind of expansion. And this explosion also caused a crane to fall and kill a couple hundred people. So they couldn't remove this device. And what happened is Russia came to help them get it out. Then, as the story goes, Pope Francis meets with the patriarch of the Russian Orthodox Church. His name's Patriarch Kirill. And they met in Cuba, where it's purported that Pope Francis gave the patriarch an ancient scroll from the Vatican archives. And then the patriarch then accompanies a Russian fleet to Antarctica to bring this Ark of Gabriel to a church there and perform some kind of ancient ritual over it. And then the Ark is taken into the continent and I guess buried somewhere. So that's the kind of whole Ark of Gabriel thing as it relates to Antarctica. And I had done a big video about this where I kind of explored the historical possibility of something called the Ark of Gabriel. But after speaking with people who are kind of closer to this information from an internal side, one of the most fascinating topics I think somebody pointed me to was a connection between a topic that many people dread, the CERN super collider. And I mean, Bill, have you worked on the CERN topic?
Yes, I did a CERN video.
Okay, could you kind of like catch our viewers up to speed here on the CERN video while I kind of pull up this information regarding?
I think the deal with CERN is that there have been scientists at CERN have been saying things that like they're breaking through to the other side, and people are afraid they're going to open a black hole that they can't close up again, things like that.
Okay, so yeah,
there's also a very interesting video of a satanic ritual that actually took place on the property, which is amazing.
Yeah, that was really bizarre. That was a few months ago.
That's quite a while ago, yeah.
Yeah, but it was a very, very bizarre video. I think it was quickly like dismissed as a hoax, but it looked far too real to be photoshopped like that. I mean, I work with Photoshop on a pretty semi-regular basis. I'm not an expert in it by any means, but that really didn't look like any kind of photo manipulation or tampering with the video to me. That seemed to be a pretty reliable source.
No, it looked pretty serious. In fact, in the clip I used, I had to cut out the part that was not PG rated, where they were going to sacrifice the female victim. I did not want my viewers to see that.
Yeah, no, that's totally understandable. I mean, you gotta kind of draw the line at good taste somewhere, I think. So here's what I want to kind of relate the whole CERN Ark of Gabriel Antarctica thing to, and this is gonna this might cause a stir with some people, but hear me out. There was a CERN physicist named Gabriele Vinziano. For 30 years, he worked for CERN. He was a pioneer in string theory. He's still alive today. It has been suggested to me that the Ark of Gabriel is, in fact, a sonic weapon that manipulates frequency based on the principles of string theory, and that this device was transported to Antarctica with the PR campaign going following the patriarch. And the purpose of this device was to affect these terraforming machines that were activated by the Black Knight satellite in 1979. And that's basically the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about today. Let me check the comments real quick. Let's see.
Go for it.
That one. Okay. You're right. Antarctica, tropical paradise. Yes, also Nazis and the Mountain of Madness. You know, that's another thing. There's so many mysteries around Antarctica. We really got to think about what we've been looking at here. You know, with any of these topics, and Bill, with your research, I'm sure, some of these can take a very long time to research and dig into, and there's so much kind of excess we got to cut through to get to the root of the story, to confirm where these sources are bringing this news from. But I think that we've been kind of misled regarding the entire Antarctica thing. This idea, this kind of suggestion that's been made to me, some of these things that I've seen provided to me by viewers who are more in the know, has me rethinking this entire thing, has me really believing that it is possible what we have been seeing as far as global warming on this planet is due to these devices that are terraforming Antarctica. It's been suggested that these devices are looking for something, but I've also heard they're only active in the winter months. And Bill, I know I've shared a lot of this. We've done a lot of this research parallel. And I think you've seen this too. It's pretty bizarre. It's a pretty bizarre claim.
What would the objective of the terraforming be?
It seems it was suggested to me that they are looking for something. Perhaps the terraforming is just to remove the ice. This from the story I've heard, this started with one device, and as time has gone on, as more and more of the ice has retreated, they have seen several more of these similar devices, and this has also been suggested it's tied in with your work as well. I know that I have a contact in Belarus. I believe he's probably watching now. I have a contact in Belarus that supplied us with some interesting information regarding organism 46B.
Wow.
And I believe that's tied to a missing Russian scientist. Let me see if I still have that up. Did you hear about this one?
So that big chunk of ice that broke off the Antarctic shelf recently, do you think that was? Do you think the terraforming is going on now?
I think it's absolutely going on. I don't know if this weapon stopped them down there, but I think that the fact that this ice sheet broke off, or this ice shelf has drifted away. I can kind of understand when we're talking about global warming affecting like the North Pole and the ozone hole. That seems to me that makes some kind of sense. But this global warming, this melting at the South Pole, this cracking of the Arctic ice shelf, it all ties in too much. There's too much going on down there. There's too many countries racing to get bases in there. And I think that it's very possible, from what I have been provided with, on conditions of anonymity, that what is going on there involves technology that has been on the planet for who knows how long, that was activated in 1979 by two powerful bursts from the Black Knight satellite, and have commenced to terraforming Antarctica for the purpose of, I guess, uncovering something in the ice. That seems to be the general consensus regarding this event, from what I'm getting from
Is the Black Knight still in orbit?
Well, that's something interesting. A viewer actually pointed me towards video of the Black Knight purportedly being destroyed, I think by Russian pilots. So I don't know. I think it's odd. I'm sure you heard recently that the announcement was made. There's going to be a new branch of the military, this Space Corps.
The U.S. military?
Yeah, the U.S. military, the first new branch of the military since 1947, I believe.
Wow.
And it's going to be the U.S. Space Corps. This was announced by the Congressional Armed Forces Committee. And they're moving ahead with the U.S. Space Corps. And I think this involves, have you heard about that I don't know, some of our viewers may have not heard about this one, but there's supposedly a kind of a drone space shuttle they've been flying around the Earth. It was like
I have not. 600
days it was up there. I looked up a picture of this thing a while back. It looks like a drone version of the space shuttle. And I mean, of course, I think this is kind of odd too. We hear this announcement of a Space Corps, and we don't even have a shuttle program anymore. It's peculiar timing.
Shuttle program is no longer, huh?
Yeah, I mean, they grounded the shuttles, I think, after what was it? Was Discovery that blew up on reentry?
Oh, is that right?
back in 2003. There was that the shuttle crash.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rather peculiar. But here's the thing, I think, with these claims regarding Antarctica. There's kind of a religious aspect to this as well, regarding some people believing that there is the remains of biblical giants flash frozen in the ice from some point during the biblical flood. So who knows? I mean, some people believe that the stories of extraterrestrial beings, there are some that are firmly in the camp that these are beings from another world. There are some that are firmly in the camp that these are demonic in nature, and I mean, I've heard people suggest even time travelers and such. And I think that's kind of an interesting avenue for exploration. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but the idea that
which camp are you in, Peter?
I think that's very likely we are shielded in some way from extraterrestrial civilizations. I think that it's possible, and that's also tied to this Vela incident as well. Some people believe that there was a detonation intentionally used to create a kind of a magnetic cloak around the planet to prevent certain signals from permeating through the barrier they created or something. But yeah, I've heard that as well. I mean, there's so many theories regarding cosmology in general. It's tough to find a straight answer because, I mean, we all hear that common acronym about NASA, what's it? Never a straight answer, right? And of course, there's the moon landing common accusations of the hoax and the moon landing and that stuff involving what's his name, the director, the Shining guy. Oh, he did Eyes Wide Shut. So I'm not going to look it up. I got to remember it. Stanley Kubrick.
Right.
Stanley
2001.
Kubrick. Yeah, and that's another one. That's another one full of a lot of symbolism in there. But I really think this take on this Antarctica stuff, it really piqued my interest. I don't know how much of this is true. I don't know how much of it is provable. I verified some of these sources and they seem to be legitimate. But again, we got to take everything with a grain of salt because we're talking about one of the most secretive places on Earth. Now, I know there's tourism there. I know there is, but these people don't get into the interior of the continent. They kind of take you around the outer islands, I guess. And you got to be a millionaire to go anyway. If you looked up how much these things cost, it's like 16 grand to go to Antarctica. It's crazy.
How do you go about verifying your sources?
Well, generally, I have received documents or documentation regarding their former activities, whether they be corporate or government. They of course will provide certain information with redactions to protect their identity to a degree. But I've had several people contact me regarding this. I've spoken to people and kind of established a sense of their credibility. Generally, when I first meet a contact, I like to go really slow in phases to kind of vet out their first of all their level of like reliability, and then I like to kind of get one-on-one with them and see, really, where they're at, and I think that's kind of necessary to do when you vet these people, who anybody who makes claims, when you vet anyone who makes claims, especially when they're coming forth to you in a capacity where, they have an identity to protect. And I think it's important to protect the identity of your sources. I think that's one of the highest commitments you can have to this kind of stuff.
How many contacts do you have?
At this point, without being too exact, I'd say it's about a half dozen. And some of these people might not necessarily be in a position where they're directly involved with cover-up or conspiracy, but they may work in a tertiary, a secondary or a tertiary role that would pertain to the administration of some of these things. So a lot of times it's not somebody who's on the battlefield, but somebody who's at a desk who sees something come across their eyes that catches attention. You know, and I mean, I've looked into this a lot. There is definite militarization going on down in Antarctica. You know, Raytheon and the Rand Corporation were involved in it in the past. Lockheed, you know, very, very few corporations are equipped to do business with governments in Antarctica. It's a very small pool to draw from. You're dealing with very specific industry, this kind of corporate paramilitary organizations. And there's a big question around that anyway, you know.
What question is that?
I mean, at what point do you say that a company shouldn't be able to have a private army?
That's pretty common nowadays, right? With the contractors over in the Mideast there.
Yeah, that is pretty common. I mean, they and I think there was just something previously in the news a couple days ago about looking to kind of get more contractors in there to handle these kind of operations. Yeah, it is pretty common these days. I guess it was always common. I mean, you had Hessians coming over here to fight during the
Right.
you know. So I mean, like, there's always been kind of mercenaries and stuff, but
right.
That's the thing that I uncovered with Antarctica. Nations are bound by the Antarctica Treaty of like 1959, so you can't militarize Antarctica. You can't do weapons testing in Antarctica. That's why a nuclear explosion over Antarctica in '79 doesn't really cut the mustard with me, and that was the first red flag when this information was presented to me, because it would be a violation of international law for those two nations to have detonated a nuclear weapon in the Arctic Circle. Weapons testing is just, people don't do it as far as the official story goes. But to get around the Antarctic,
but there was a seismic a wave was detected, I take it.
It wasn't even seismic. It was two immensely bright flashes of light that were recorded as far away as like Argentina or something. So maybe
what do you call it, airborne, or a burst in the air, something like that?
Yeah, that was the thing. That was the allegation, that a nuclear device was detonated in low Earth orbit or in space above Antarctica.
Oh, wow.
By these two countries who joined together to do so. Now, that's never been confirmed. I mean, I'm looking at it now. The Vela incident. Oh, man. Here we go. Oh, I want to go look at it. Come on. Let's do it. Move it, little apple. Okay. Also known as the South Atlantic Flash, a double flash of light detected by an American Vela Hotel satellite on 22nd September 79 near Prince Edward Island. A double flash signal characteristic of nuclear weapons test in the atmosphere.
Wow.
They also said it could have been a meteorite hitting the satellite, because that happens all the time. U.S. Air Force was sent to detect radioactive dust, but they were negative. So there was no radioactive dust. So something blew up that looked like a double flash of a nuclear device, and then the Air Force tested and found no nuclear residue. So what the hell happened out there? I really think that this tip that I got is worthy of research. I mean, at this point, look, I can't vet anything. I'm not in Antarctica, you know. That cost a pretty penny to go to Antarctica. And I don't think you're gonna.
But we're going, right?
Yeah. Well, they're gonna put up that Kickstarter and get that 30 grand, and we're gonna go. We're gonna go in style. I want to get pulled by a sled of penguins. So it looks like, yeah, the Defense Intelligence Agency, U.S. Naval Research, and defense contractors came to the conclusion that it wasn't a nuclear detonation, and portions of information about the event remain classified. Wow. You can all look this up yourself, folks. Vela, V-E-L-A, the Vela incident. So this is still classified, but everybody determined it wasn't a nuke, even though it looked just like a nuke going off. That is alleged to have been contact established between the Black Knight satellite, and I'll tell you what, here's the most far out part, I think, and take this all with a grain of salt. I don't know how true this is. It has been suggested these things have been described resembling what is commonly referred to, and this piqued my interest because right away this person suggested that these things had an appearance similar to an Egyptian figure. And after sending a series of pictures back and forth from the internet.
When you say an Egyptian figure, what kind of figure?
The typhonic beast, who's often identified with the Set animal, this unknown animal that was depicted on a lot of Egyptian artwork. There's no animal that corresponds with it in nature. It's kind of got the face of an anteater and big square ears. So,
right.
It was told to me
that Set?
That was Set, yeah, the god of like the moon. And it was suggested to me that these machines, these terraforming devices, would resemble this Set beast in some vague way. That's kind of what this person said. They look kind of an Egyptian thing. That They did. Sometimes they appeared bipedal, sometimes they appeared quadrupedal, and that whatever these things were, they were only active during the winter months. Like maybe something about the sunlight prevents them from working. I don't know, but. There's a lot of holes in this. I'm not standing here saying this is exactly what's going on. I'm saying that I was provided with an interesting avenue of research to look down, and I'm exploring that with you, with you, the viewers, and with you, Bill. Like, so I don't know how true any of this is. I know that it's very interesting. I think the connections with ancient Egypt, that makes sense for someone like myself who believes there was an advanced mother culture.
What do you mean by mother culture?
Like Atlantis or Lemuria, one of these ancient advanced civilizations who may have colonized much of the globe,
Right. Like all language coming from one source type thing.
Exactly. Very much like the Tower of Babel myth, there are similar legends in other, I don't want to say legend when we're referring to biblical stuff, but there are legends similar to the biblical tale, that an event happens where people are confused or their speech is changed or, their physical appearance or they're separated by great distances. So I tend to lean towards the idea that there may have been in the past some ancient advanced civilization while everybody else was kind of still banging rocks together. There was some, high culture that was already existing on the earth.
There are also researchers trying to trace all languages back to a single language.
I'm sure they'll find it. I read a lot about religious topics. And I came across this idea, I guess that was developed around the 15th century or roundabouts then. This idea of the Prisca Theologia, that the farther you go back in time, the closer you get to the purest religion. So, I think that might apply to language as well, Kind of like Whisper Down the Lane changes the story. And this was common during, I guess, Reformation era Europe, post-Reformation era, pre-Enlightenment Europe, when these kind of ideas were first being developed, when you see these kind of quasi-Christian hermetic belief systems kind of pop up. But I think, I'm getting back to this. I think a linchpin of this whole Antarctica thing, if we look at it with new eyes, is that we're seeing a strange flash over the continent in 1979. Then we get all this stuff about climate change for the next 3 decades. This iceberg cracks off. This ice shelf cracks off. This is a big thing. Funny, has anybody seen any video of this? I want to check the comments real quick. Has anybody seen any video of this ice shelf falling off?
It was reported in the news.
Yeah, but I don't think I've seen live video of this thing cracking off and floating away.
Maybe as soon as it cracks, it like goes right underneath ocean level or something. Maybe they missed it.
Yeah, I think that I think we're dealing with something real strange going on down there. Oh, I gotta clean up this fucking comment section. All right. I'll just take care of that for a minute. So, yeah, I think what we're dealing with here is something that's totally been covered up with fantastic legends and stories that relate this arc, which we know is non-biblical. There's no arc of Gabriel anywhere in the Bible, so we know it to be non-biblical. Even in Islamic literature, I can't find anything about it. The only place I found anything ever called the Ark of Gabriel was in an ancient Ethiopian kingdom called Aksum, which had been conquered by Muslims in the 1600s. Now they mentioned something called the Ark of Gabriel, which in all my estimation was just a name given to some box that probably held a venerated object. Who knows if it was some piece of papyrus or the bone of a saint? I don't know. But this thing did exist and it did go missing. I don't think what we're dealing with in Antarctica is the same thing. And according to what I've been getting over the last couple of weeks in relation to this topic, I think that the Ark of Gabriel we've been talking about, moved by the Russian fleet, taken down to Antarctica, was in fact some kind of sonic weapon that uses sound against these beings because they couldn't find any other way to damage these things except through vibrating frequency at a subatomic level based on the work of a 30-year CERN scientist and his groundbreaking foundational work in string theory. Yeah, it's bizarre stuff. It's really bizarre stuff. So let me ask you, Bill. Let me get off this Antarctica stuff for a second. Let me let some comments go, and then we'll take some of that, see what people are talking about. Out of all these topics, do you have a favorite one? One that always, no matter what, it gets your interest?
Oh, well, that's got to be vampires, and but no one else wants to know about that.
No, I'll tell you what. I'm a big fan of vampire topics. Lately, I've heard some far out claims that tie political figures to at least some type of vampirism. I don't know if it's supernatural in nature, but it could be some kind of weird cult stuff. But I generally don't try to go down those dark roads too often. Oh, we got some comments about sexy vampires. Yes, sexy vampires. You know, as a kid, I used to like Vampirella comics. Yeah, remember that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Vampirella, vampire superhero lady.
Good artwork in those comics, though. They were
Yeah,
expensive, but there was good artwork in them.
I'll tell you what. I actually just found out that the Frank Frazetta, who did all that artwork, there's a
Right.
museum to him here in PA.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like a couple hours away. I'm like, yo, I have to go at some point before the summer's over. It looks like a little castle. Now I read earlier that this iceberg was already breaking up, disintegrating and stuff. Um, that's I don't know how that's going to affect anything. I heard a bunch of people claiming there was going to be some massive tidal wave when it hit, but that didn't seem to happen. People were claiming that Argentina was going to end up underwater, but I think it fell in so slow. They said, I don't know. How do we even know it fell in? You know what I mean?
I'm pretty well. I heard on reported on mainstream, and I'm one of those few people who still follows the mainstream, so I believe it.
Oh my goodness. Just cleaning some shit up. All right. Just had to clean that up. You know, we get some people in here who want to just keep typing some ridiculous stuff over and over again. You know, when it comes to the area of ideology, I think that sometimes current ideologies only exist because of past ideologies, no matter how negative these ideologies may be. And the danger is in thinking that you can use the same ideology of the past as a solution to its resurgence in the present. It's like trying to fight a fire with a flamethrower. It's not going to put anything out. It just doesn't work. Like you are only further propagating the problem for another generation for everybody to continue to deal with. So I think that it's really important to keep in mind that dividing people has always been the goal of the powers that be, and dividing people over stupid shit is the easiest thing to do. So, yeah, I don't think that kind of stuff. It's counterproductive.
Amen.
So yeah, you know what? I want to get into vampires for a minute, because you know it's an interesting topic. Also, the Antarctic gets 6 months of fucking darkness. When they say that these things, these fucking terraforming set beasts or whatever these things are active. That's I mean, right there. What are we talking about here? Are we talking about something that's alive? I'm hearing that these things aren't necessarily alive. That there's some kind of like it was described to me kind of like a robot, but a biological robot. Are we looking at something that could be, in some sense, vampiric because it's only active when there's no sun out? You know. And then I think about different folklore where you have these things that kind of can't be on the sunlight, like trolls, they turn to stone, vampires, they turn to dust, you know? But look, vampirism is something that it doesn't go away. It's never gone. It's not like people are out there doing it right now. There's people out there, they got black eyeliner on, maybe they're cutting themselves, maybe they're drinking somebody's blood. I mean, look, it's happening.
Oh, yeah.
It's happening.
There's a name for that. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but
you know what? It's good because that means you're not one of those one of them folks, right? Because like,
right.
We shouldn't know that. We're good. We shouldn't know that.
We're good.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, whatever you're into is whatever you're into, but I mean, that's something people are into, you know.
Yeah, we're not going to step on the toes of you guys who know the name.
Yeah. But if that's going on at street level, you could imagine that stuff's going on at top level where anybody who's super sicko and has the money to do whatever they want can do whatever they want.
Yeah, it's sad.
You know, in the comments, Nation State brings up a good point. It says the idea of vampires comes from millennia-old philosophy that blood contains rejuvenating ability. And it said this is why ancient civilizations sacrificed their children. I always thought it really odd when you hear about ancient civilizations sacrificing children, because you got to imagine that infant mortality in the Bronze Age had to be dog shit to begin with. So any baby that survived a week or two, like, I think that's I don't know how much evidence there is for a lot of that claims of child sacrifice, but I mean, I'm sure it happened. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure that there were people out there worshiping all kinds of weird stone idols and shit like that.
Oh yeah. Well, there's the famous story there of Abraham. Is Abraham taking his son and is about to kill him or something like that?
Yeah.
So I think that was a reaction to the Hebrew reaction to the cult of Molech and whatever you have there. But,
yeah,
I believe that was child sacrifice. Absolutely, I believe that.
I don't think it was on a large scale.
Long time ago.
Probably like, oh shit, there's an eclipse coming, and maybe then. But I don't think it was like every Saturday night they were just tossing the kid in the fire. But I mean, look, I'm no expert on ancient pagan child sacrifice rituals. Like I said, just like you said, I'm sure that it happened. I just don't necessarily think it was a vast, wide practice. But hey, I could be completely wrong. So that's just my my assumption here.
And at the risk of upsetting a viewer or two, it might have been something where, you know, the infanticide, you know, has always been big, and maybe it was, you know, God forbid, an unwanted child, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really interesting take. And you know, you do find, I guess, in the story of Krishna and the story of Jesus, they both have stories of massacring of innocent children under the age of 2. Like that happens in both stories. So I mean, yeah, I guess, but I think historically, I've read that if the massacre of the innocents caused by Herod did happen, they were talking about maybe a dozen children based on the size of the city that this would have occurred in. So it wasn't like 200, 2,000 children. It might have been 12, you know. And that's still a tragedy one way you look at it or another. But I think a lot of these stories, I mean, essentially, most stories get embellished. I don't think there's a story that doesn't, you know. I like that. Somebody suggested ancient. Is that Yeah, that's Marjorie. Marjorie just brought up the idea of ancient nanotechnology. Perhaps that's what keeps these vampiristic creatures alive. And look, that's a pretty interesting way to take it. I mean, what if, you know, we are dealing with kind of an extraterrestrial virus that is nanotech in basis that affected the Earth. I don't know, maybe 100,000, 200,000 years ago, if you believe that the Earth's that old. 6,000 years ago, if you don't. But let's say some kind of maybe even not of this universe, kind of a parallel dimension, a demonic influence, something that kind of was technological in nature and kind of rewrote these people's DNA to make them survive off of hemoglobin or some other aspect of the blood. But I think that's a really interesting idea. Also, the idea that you know, these things could really, I mean, they could be out there. You can have something like that out there. I don't think necessarily some kind of supernatural interview with a vampire kind of thing, but maybe it is some kind of tech virus. Maybe it's something that's as old as time, and you know, it's something that kind of preserves at least the corporeal form of a person. Maybe it doesn't preserve their sanity. I mean, we could go down a million avenues of theoretical speculation, you know. All right, I want to recap for anybody who's just joined here about the Antarctica mystery here. So basically, what we're looking at is in 1979, there was an incident over the skies of Antarctica that was commonly believed initially to have been a nuclear test performed by Israel and South Africa. But the U.S. Air Force tested and found no trace of nuclear material. A bunch of other government agencies look into it. They all agree it wasn't a nuclear explosion. This is called the Vela incident. It happened September 22nd, 1979. Based on information I've been provided by some of the sources that I work with regarding some of these topics, I've vetted the sources. I cannot vet the information for its veracity, but it makes sense from a speculative viewpoint to explore this area of research. The common belief is that those two flashes were directed from the Black Knight satellite to some kind of what was presumed, I guess, to be a statue when it was originally discovered, but it represented the Typhonic beast, at least in some way. It was described to me as an Egyptian god-looking thing, and after going through some pictures, we got to the Set beast and said it looked like that. And then it's begun terraforming Antarctica back in '79. Then we start seeing all this climate change stuff gets cooked up, you know, to kind of cover up whatever's going on down there. And then as time has gone on, this initial device, this creature, whatever it is, has been unearthing more of its kind, which are continuing this terraforming work. The governments of the world were powerless to do anything but observe this for decades. And it is presented to me that the Ark of Gabriel was not, it had no connection to Mecca, that the trip of the Patriarch of the Russian Church to accompany the fleet down to Antarctica to deliver it was all a PR thing. The Ark of Gabriel was actually an audio weapon, a sonic device that uses sound at a vibrational frequency based on string theory, and that the device is actually named after a CERN physicist who was a pioneer in string theory, and his name was Gabriele Vinziano, a pioneer of string theory, a 30-year CERN employee, that this sonic weapon that's based on the vibrational power of string theory. I don't know. I'm not a physicist. I don't know how this works. But apparently this was taken down to use on these creatures because nothing else they used worked. But everything in the universe does respond to frequency, so that's why this device was created. It was 30 years in the making, based on string theory. Comes out of CERN for everything I'm seeing here. And this is what's going on down there. These things do not operate during the day. So for 6 months out of the year, these things are still as stones. And then once that sun goes down for 6 months, they're back at it again, looking for something. And this is basically what I'm hearing from a couple different sources that I've been talking to. And that's kind of what we're looking at here with Antarctica. I think it's a very interesting area to explore. It would make sense to me that a lot of what we've been hearing for the last 6 months is disinformation, you know? And I hope we've caught everybody up to where we're at on Antarctica. So anybody got questions for Bill? Is fans of the NightTerrors channel? You want to get in on this? Bill, you got anything coming up you want to tease everybody with, or do you like to hold it close to the vest and wait till the video drops?
Yeah, I wait till the last minute.
Yeah, I like that. I like that, though. You know, when you never know what it's going to be, it's always a surprise. It's like, what's it going to be next time? All right, let's see what we got here. Sonic weapons. Yes, sonic weapons are quite powerful. I mean, they're used for crowd control all the time. Nation state saying that despite the government saying there was no radiation, the Vela satellite has picked up something like 40 other similar flashes, all of which were in fact nuclear blasts.
Wow. Now you said this was the Vela Hotel satellite. Is that what you said?
No, the Vela incident was a Vela satellite that picked up these flashes. But I do got a question for you from the chat. Nation state asked, how do you look for info?
Well, as we were talking about before, Peter,
yeah.
My cycle's every 2 weeks. I do 2 shows. I take 2 shows at once. So I start out with checking out all the videos from all the different channels, including your own, and I'm looking for the idea that's starting to gain popularity, the 2 ideas that are beginning to gain popularity, and then I write my scripts and go from there.
And I'll tell you what, it's solid content. I mean, there's very few people I think that are out there. I mean, this is a whole new breed of stuff. And I mean, like, you know, you and I, we probably grew up with the same guys. You got your Leonard Nimoy on In Search Of, you know, you had your Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack. I mean, there's a lot of guys who've come before us, especially in the areas of paranormal research, like the Warrens, you know, UFO research, Zachariah Sitchins, you know, and then, you know, even areas of biblical research, guys like Paul Begley Jr., you know, there's been guys that are doing this kind of stuff forever. David Icke, Alex Jones, these guys have been at this for decades. So, you know, right now what we're seeing is like a whole new breed of people coming up that are doing this kind of stuff. You got, of course, the Outer Dark, the Outer Light channels. You got your channel, NightTerrors. You know, there's like the Fear channel. And you know, there's a lot of guys out there that are doing.
There's hundreds of them, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that are doing quality work, a whole new breed of creators who are exploring all new areas of this stuff. Now, at the same time, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of guys that are just doing, you know, the easy route. I mean, you know, they're just kind of posting up text with a little music behind it, and they're going.
The worst is the text. Those are the worst.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's a coin flip on what's worse. Is it just the text, or is it the robot voice? That one gets.
I have to. No, I think the text is a little bit. They're both abhorrent, but
Yeah.
the text is worse because it makes you have to read.
Yeah, it's like I could have just read this. Thanks, you know. Like, this is why. Why'd you do this? 25 minutes. This video is 25 minutes and it's all text. What's going on here?
I don't want to. I at least want someone to talk to me. I don't like the robot voices though.
I wonder, like, when somebody does a 25-minute video like that where it's just text and clips, I'm like, God, you spent so much time editing that. Like, why'd you use the robot voice?
And there's some really good robot voices out there now. I don't know if you've heard the new British ones. It's like they're almost natural. It's amazing.
Yeah, they still got a touch of robot to them though. It's still like, I wonder sometimes, is this really happening?
There's this one, I forget which channel it is, but it's one of the British robot voices, and the only way you can tell is that when he says somebody says something, instead of saying says, he says somebody says something. So you know he's a robot then.
Yeah, there you go. That's a dead giveaway right there. All right, what do we got here? All right, looks like people are talking about Hawaii. A lot of people say a lot of things about Hawaii. I've never been myself. I got a buddy who lives out there. Chad, if you're watching, hello. Aloha. Wish I was in Hawaii. Let's see, Bill. I got another question here. It's from What World D. Have you encountered the topic that everyone is talking about and considering anything that could indicate an alternate cosmology or alternate conceptualization of Earth?
Interesting question. Alternate cosmology, huh?
Yeah.
Is that the extent of the question? Is that the whole thing?
Yeah. Let's see. I'll read it over again for everybody here. Ask Bill if he has encountered the topic that everyone is talking about and considering anything that could indicate an alternate cosmology or alternate conceptualization of Earth.
Well, I think maybe, and he might correct me, but I think when he's saying alternate cosmology, when you're talking about cosmology, I think you're talking about how everything came into being, Big Bang, etc. And maybe he's talking about that, but I'm not sure. Maybe if you could clarify.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What would D? Could you clarify that a little bit? I'm not really sure what you're asking here. I think maybe he's asking, have you ever researched a topic that was popular and come to the conclusion that maybe there's alternate timelines? I'm not sure what we're saying. Let me see if he clarifies for us. I get some stuff about electric universe theory. I'm seeing that's cosmogony. Cosmology is the universe we live in. He might be asking about the flat Earth or the giant Earth. Okay. Until we get, I think it might mean flat Earth. So let me get this one. We got a good one here, Bill. Humongous. It's a good one. Humongous wants to know about September 23rd, 2017. Have you touched on that topic yet?
I have not.
Are you familiar with the idea of the supposed biblical prophecy regarding the woman in the sky and the red dragon from the book of Revelation, chapter 12?
I am not. No, sorry, Peter.
Yeah. So this is a thing, I guess, that's going around. People are kind of thinking that the some kind of alignment of the stars on the 23rd of September will be a sign from the book of Revelation. So that's kind of out there. I've been kind of floating around a little bit. It's an interesting topic. Okay, here we got him on. All the 9/11 steel was shipped to China in the aftermath. Did they test none of it for explosive residue? Does that make them naive or complicit? I'm not sure. How's it go? Jet fuel can't melt steel beams. Building 7, everybody. Maybe the magnetic anomaly in Antarctica is ground-based for the Black Knight satellite. Signals are bouncing in and out of a hole into the ionosphere. I think, Darren, that's kind of a possibility. I think I'm leaning towards myself with this kind of revelation that these set beasts, these biological robots are down there terraforming, and they've been doing so for the better part of 3 decades now. I think that makes a lot more sense that the Ark of Gabriel was a sonic weapon based on string theory to go down there and kind of take out these things. And I think it's very likely that John Kerry was probably involved in that operation, but who knows? Interview with an ex-vampire. Have you seen that series, Bill? Somebody's asking if you have any thoughts on that. I don't know if I've ever seen that myself. No, I'm not familiar with that one either. That's something I'll have to put on the list, though, because I do like the vampire topic. I was a kid when all that Anne Rice stuff got really kind of popular in the 90s, and the movie came out. Last book I read of hers, though, was called Servant of the Bones. Pretty good. Kind of involves like Babylon and some Marduk stuff. That's a pretty interesting story.
Interesting thing about Anne Rice, I think she first started writing her vampire saga, I think shortly after she lost a child, something like that.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. I think you're right on the money. She did lose a child and then started the vampire stuff. And I think that greatly influenced the character of, I think Claudia was the child.
Oh, yeah, right.
So I think that had a lot to do with it. And I think all of her books are kind of dedicated to her husband. And I think one may be dedicated to that child. I'm not sure. I'd have to double check that. Yeah, redemption is at hand. He's talking about that sign in the sky, the dragon in infrared. It was hidden by Google Earth. It's strange. I don't know what that is. We'll see what happens. Bill, what do you think about the eclipse? I know we're both out on the East Coast, so we're only going to get about 90% totality out here.
Yeah, I got about 75 here, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that we're looking at 90% maybe where I am, at least for an hour or something. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about all the hubbub around that? You think? Well,
I did see an eclipse when I was young. I saw one, but it was a partial, and it just seemed to it was unusual, but it wasn't a full eclipse. And they say to see the full eclipse is really amazing. I wish I could go this year. I don't know. Maybe I'll get lucky.
Yeah, it's a hike.
Right.
I think Carolina might be the tip.
Right. For me, if you go down, I think Charleston actually is within the. I think Charleston is within the cone of full eclipse. Just barely, I think Charleston is.
All right, here's a question. People. Okay. Pete. The Bible says no one knows when Christ will return, only God. Why then do people constantly try to predict and pin the date? What do you think the end goal is of getting people riled up? All right. I'll put it to you like this. Even before Christianity, there were other religions with beliefs in end times. There's always kind of been religions with eschatology regarding the end of the world or a great cycle of ending and rebirth. Zoroastrians had it. They had a belief in of an end time like that. I think you'll always see that. I mean, if you're an ancient Mesoamerican and the eclipse happens, what are you going to think? I mean, these kind of solar events or a meteor shower or, I mean, anything like that. These would have inspired insane beliefs, in some people, or deep-seated superstitions, or even like blood sacrifice rituals. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So I think it's natural for human beings to, because humans are unique in that we are self-aware of our own mortality. We, of course, subscribe that same mortality to the earth itself. And I think people will always try to predict the end of time, even no matter what the Bible says. It's human nature,
With Christianity, if I'm not mistaken, expecting the end time to come very soon. In fact, when they first started out, it was supposed to come within their lifetimes. You can even see it, and they had to explain to their groups why it didn't come within certain people's lifetimes, and that's all in the good book.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So yeah, nobody knows if and when the world will end. I mean, at some point, I'm sure some great event in space will occur to probably screw us up pretty bad. But until then, say smell the roses, have a picnic, enjoy.
Eat, drink, and be merry.
Yeah, get yourself a big bucket of crispy fried chicken and some potato wedges, something like that. That sounds pretty good. Let's see here. So yeah, I think the one thing that's interesting is how the eclipse will pass over Yellowstone, and of course, there's all kinds of fears concerning the Yellowstone caldera and whether or not these gravitational alignments will cause some kind of exertion on these forces. I saw a video earlier today. I think Dabu7 put it up regarding a great fault line, I guess, that crosses the country from New Madrid to the Yellowstone caldera, and it's directly across the path of the eclipse. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Either we're up for great happenings, some really wild stuff's going to go down, or you know what, the wheel will keep on spinning.
The scariest thing about Yellowstone is that these swarms, they have been happening, but they've been getting more and more powerful, higher and higher magnitudes on the Richter scale.
I think the hope is that that's kind of letting off some steam rather than a precursor of a devastating eruption to come. Though, I think it would be bad. I mean, if it goes off, it's going to be pretty bad. But I don't think it's going to be like an extinction level event for humanity. I think that we'll bounce back.
It's a super volcano, though, right?
But it's exploded before, and we're still here. So, that's what I'm thinking. That we'll get through it. I'm sure the sky will be blacked out for a couple of years, but people would survive ultimately.
But the last time the caldera exploded was, maybe 160 million years ago, and I believe that predates humanity. I believe, maybe even primates.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point. I don't know. It'll be something else. I mean, I know.
The caldera at Yellowstone is almost half the size of the park. That's a pretty big caldera.
Yeah, I mean, that's like hundreds of acres of square miles rather, hundreds of square miles of area. I think if it blew up, I've seen different maps that would suggest the ash would settle as far away as like Michigan, and it would rain.
Oh yeah, well, here. Ash over most of if it was the big caldera, ash over most of the United States, and Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho, several feet of ash because they're right around Yellowstone. Several feet.
I got another question for you, Bill. Somebody says, I know Bill said he just reports on findings, but I'd like to know if he has a personal opinion on what might be in Antarctica, if anything at all.
I really try to stay away from that. Like I said before, it might have something to do with the code of the reporter that you want to be fair and not come down on one side or the other.
No, that's exactly right. And I mean, there you go. That's firm as a rock, folks. You're not gonna sway the man. It's not gonna happen. Respect the integrity of the journalists here. I'm telling you. That's what I like about you. Like you're doing it right. Yeah, Marjorie. That was on Dabu today. There we go. The fissure across the path of the eclipse. Yes. There's a transcontinental fissure that runs across the path of the eclipse. The Missouri Cut, and the eclipse goes directly over it. Yes. Rest in peace, Stephen Hawking, and the robotic puppet that sits in his place. Did he die? Did Stephen Hawking die? I don't know. Let me check Twitter because now you got me looking.
Seems like that would have been big news.
Yeah, let's see. I gotta look at Twitter. It would be on there, I'm sure. I better not be looking up some BS here.
What are you searching on Hawking?
I'll just check what's trending. I mean, of course, it's got.
Oh, what's trending?
Yeah, it would have to be what's trending. It cannot be. Let's see. No, Thor Ragnarok. No. Black Panther, Captain Marvel. This is all stuff from Comic-Con. Yeah, no, Stephen Hawking's not dead. Come on now. Thanks for wasting everybody's
The
time.
great Stephen Hawking hoax.
Got bamboozled. That's right. I did get bamboozled. In regards to no one knowing the time or the hour, it's in reference to following a lunar calendar in which Jewish people would be able to know the advancements of the Feast of Trumpets. Yes, Judaism does follow a lunar calendar. That's why Easter always moves, because it follows Passover, which is set by the lunar calendar. Lady, don't eat the cables there. Alex Jones equals Bill Hicks. That's an old one. Old one, but
Alex Jones equals Bill Hicks? Is that?
Yeah, people have kind of speculated that Alex Jones has been Bill Hicks for years.
Are the same person?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't subscribe to that theory myself. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, you know what, Bill? Have you seen that before? The Spirit Science History of the World.
Negative.
That's kind of far out. I'd recommend it. It's animated. It has to do with aliens coming from Mars, Atlantis, artificial Merkabas. It's wild, man. It's pretty far out.
I'll have to check that out. Thank you.
Oh, you're talking about the conspiracy theory that Hawkins was replaced. You know what? Somebody said something to me a couple weeks ago that made me think.
Who's the poor bastard who replaced him?
Yeah, but I've seen some pretty advanced Android. He might not even be real. He might just be an animatronic that they get out there, and he's like, he might not be saying any of that stuff. They probably got a speaker hooked up, and there's a man behind the curtain. For all we know, he could have been in a vegetative state for the last 20 years, and they just kind of roll him out. And remember those old the microphones you would tune the radio to, and it would make the thing come out of the radio.
Right.
Yeah, that's what they got going on there. Tune them into AM 1512 and get going. Stephen Hawking was at Pedo Epstein Island. Yeah, I don't really get into that whole Pizzagate stuff. That's not stuff I want to spend my time thinking about. People complain Stephen Hawking shouldn't be alive. Maybe he's like what's that thing at Disney World? The Hall of Presidents?
Yeah, animatronic. Who said it?
Completely animatronic, like Chuck E. Cheese, man. He comes out there. Yeah. Have you seen the parody where they show Hawking's ordering food? No, I haven't seen nothing because I don't watch TV. Am I of Asian descent or am I just wasted? No, I have an 11-month-old son who just cut his 8th tooth. I don't sleep. Let's see. Fancy wheelchair. Yeah. This genius can't talk anymore. Wait, he used text to speech, does he? It's hackable. Call the Russians. Russian jokes. Remember, I think, a lot of people don't remember if you didn't grow up in the 80s, but the Russians used to be the bad guys in everything. I mean, I remember an episode of Night Court where the Russians were the bad guys. Like, it's just everything. They were always the bad guys. Every movie. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger's fight Russians, Rocky's fight Russians. They're all fight Russians. That was back when we had the constant threat of nuclear annihilation, though. So that's a nice trade. Yeah, Wolverines, man. That's a great movie. Let me see. Let's get a little bit behind Bill. Let's get a little bit behind camera. Bill, you got a favorite movie? How about a genre, rather? I don't want to pin you down with a movie, but do you like a certain genre?
I like the movie probably best, The Power. There's an old one called The Power. Or 5 Million Years to Earth. That's another real good old one.
So like the classics, my man. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So I actually, something reminded me today. I think my fiance had like the Muppet Show on in a bedroom, and the baby's in the crib bouncing up and down watching the old Muppet Show. And like Vincent Price was on it. And I don't know about you, but I've always been a big fan of Vincent Price. I was a kid when I first saw The Pit and the Pendulum and The Fly and
Dr. Phibes.
Yeah, Dr. Five's House of
Abominable Dr. Fives.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like that. I grew up on that stuff. Back here in Philly, we had like Saturday Night Dead, where
Nice.
this Elvira knockoff would do the same kind of Elvira thing. There used to be a Creature Feature and a Kung Fu Theater and all that good stuff. So yeah, those old classics, man. The Hammer horror movies. Like, I'm not a big fan of horror these days. I think there's a lot. It's just, like gore porn. It's just all about outdoing the blood factor.
It Follows was pretty good. Have you seen that one?
Man, I haven't seen nothing. I just saw that The Conjuring is on some app that we got, and I've never seen it. So I've been thinking about sitting down and watching that. But
try It Follows. It's pretty revolutionary. I think you'd like it.
I'll definitely have to check that one out. Let me put it in the old. I'm gonna put a little post-it note on it. Yeah, because I don't ever see anything. The Big Lebowski is the greatest movie I ever made. I love Blade Runner. What do you think of the? I always pronounce this wrong. The Urantia book. Is it true? Is it accurate? I've read a little bit of it. Urantria. I don't know how to fuck to say that. I have read bits of it. It's weird. I'm not really sure what I think of it. I haven't read enough of it to go ahead and say whether or not I think much of it. Uranian. I don't know. Purple pills, red pills. Take the gray pill, everybody. Take the gray pill from the alien. It doesn't go in your mouth.
Oh my God.
That's how aliens roll, man. Like, that's the problem. That's why, look, I don't know about
Where
you.
does it go, Peter?
That's what the probes are for. What do you think's on the end of that? It's a gray pill because they're gray aliens. Look, I don't know where you are on the subject. I know that, like, you're kind of. I think you're drawn more towards the paranormal personally. That's I'm kind of guessing. I could be wrong.
I'm a big UFO guy too.
Yeah, I don't dig aliens. I read a lot about them. Interested in the topic, but I don't ever want them to show up. I think if they do show up, they should be chased away as fast as we can by whatever means we need to do so. I don't think it would be good for us. I don't trust it. I got an issue with it. I don't want aliens to show up. Remember that old movie, Alien Nation?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
good
those
movie,
guys,
series, really good movie.
oh man, it was a fantastic movie. I watched the series when I was a kid too. I got to stay up late and watch that one when I was a kid. Man, that was on at 9 p.m. But I was like 8 or 9 when that thing came on. Oh, it was so cool, man. They would drink the sour milk and they'd be drunk. That was good stuff. But yeah, I don't need no aliens showing up here. And I don't care if it's Superman or Mork from Ork. No, send them back. No moon men, because I don't think any technology in history encounters more advanced technology from another culture. That lesser advanced culture does not survive. So these people show up with spaceships. They got to go. They got to go. Do I remember the TV series called Harsh Realm? No, I do not.
That's where they're basically in a simulated computer world. Very good series. I think it only ran 6 or 12 episodes before it got canceled.
There you go, Tina. Bill knows all about that one. There you go. I have not seen that one. I watched a series called Earth 2 starring Tim Curry.
Oh, yeah, Tim Curry series. Very good series.
It was so good. I really enjoyed it, and it ends like...
Yeah.
It just ends. Like, it didn't get renewed, and they didn't resolve nothing. It just ends, and it's so good. Oh, my God. If somebody makes Earth 2.0... because everything's got to be that these days. It makes Earth 2.0 and puts that on TV and picks up, I don't know, it's been like a dozen or so years, I guess, since that series on. You pick up now, all these years later, I would still watch it. I'd be first in line. Cliffhanger. I know we're just talking about movies here. Some of these movies, can I ask about Rh negative blood type? I have never done a video about Rh negative blood type. I don't know enough about it. I feel confident enough doing a video. Bill, have you looked into that topic?
Well, at first, when people were getting blood. They tried blood transfusions, right, to people who lost a lot of blood.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people started dying. They didn't know why. And then they discovered 2 different types, A type and B type. And that worked for a while. But then still some people were dying. And they discovered the Rh factor, which, of course, was named for rhesus monkeys, which is the test animals in which they discovered it. That's about all I know about it.
Yeah, a lot of times, from my experience, when anybody brings up Rh negative blood type, a lot of times it's brought up in a kind of a racial context. I don't really kind of get into all that because, like I've said before, you cannot, like, if the situation you're in today is because of a behavior that happened in the past, you cannot fight that situation today with that same fucking behavior. It's not, it's like fucking gasoline on fire. You gotta fucking wise up. Yeah, I'm talking like a sailor, so the fuck what? You don't have to worry about aliens, Pete. Just extraterrestrials, maybe. That's a common belief too. Creatures in the Hollow Earth. You've done the Hollow Earth, Bill?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've done the Hollow Earth too. It's one of my favorite topics personally. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating concept. I did a video about the guy John Cleves Sims. He was one of the pioneers of Hollow Earth theory. I actually looked up perhaps going to visit his gravesite in Ohio, but then I discovered it's in a terrible neighborhood, and I figured I'd just look at pictures of it on the internet.
That's too bad.
Yeah, you know what? There's some spots here in Philly where there's like really interesting public artworks. There's actually a library that has a couple cannonballs that were taken from like Turkish forces in the 1600s and were donated to Philly in like the 1880s, and they put them outside of the library, and that's also in a terrible neighborhood. So yeah, some of this stuff is it's really it's a shame that the kind of public artwork that was once very common in these like older East Coast cities it's just not a thing anymore. They're not putting up big bronze statues like they are anymore. In Philly, we have a gigantic statue. It's huge of Joan of Arc on horseback, and it's all done in gold leaf. I mean, this thing just shines like it's crazy looking. It's illegal to fly over the poles. I don't know if it's illegal to fly over the poles or not. I've seen all kinds of weird stuff regarding speculation and flight patterns and things like that. The Shaver Mystery, HB0111. I did a big video on the Shaver Mystery. You familiar with that crazy stuff, Bill? That Terror subterranean. Oh man, this guy was in a nut house and he wrote a 10,000 page letter and they printed it in a magazine and it's a big mystery. Admiral Byrd swore that there was an inner Earth. Do you think he was on crack? Inner Earth may be our only salvation. I don't know if he had crack at the time. I don't think crack existed unless you kind of think that crack might have been something that the elite had around long before they flooded the streets with it. But no, I don't think Admiral Byrd was toking the old glass bird before he hopped in his plane and flew over the poles. I don't know how well he'd fly high on crack. Yeah, Humongous. I did a big video on the Montauk Project too. Bill, you do anything like with the Montauk Project, the Philadelphia experiment before?
I did, yeah.
Wait, let me ask you this for our viewers here, because I'm a big fan of your work. You do great stuff. Of all your videos, which have been your favorites? You got a top 3?
Probably my favorite is the Blue Man, which is a little known. I dare say, oh, geez, I'm going to get killed now. Scottish or Irish. Sorry, guys. And I'm thinking Irish. A tale that's just and not even circulated among all of the people, but only in certain sections.
So we can say certain Gaelic tribes.
Right.
Yeah. Just keep it nice and general. Anyway, nobody gets in a twist. Okay, yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I was just looking at that nonsense going by. So that's been your favorite one.
That's probably my absolute favorite. Yeah, the
So I
Blue
think
Man.
that's the one definitely everybody should check the
And
hell out.
what these Blue Men are they're like mermen, but they don't have fins like a mermaid, like you would picture a mermaid having. They actually have feet, and they board ships. They demand tribute. If the captain doesn't want to give tribute, then bad things happen. Pretty interesting stuff.
So are these creatures associated with like the Fey folk, like fairies and goblins and such, or are
Yeah,
they like an aquatic race of humans?
they're an aquatic race similar to the Kelpies. If you've ever heard of the Kelpies.
Oh no, I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, yeah.
That's something to check into there. The Kelpies, an aquatic race, and you know what? There are various Celtic myths. What's the one? The horse comes out of the lake, and then you get on it, you get stuck to its back, and it drags you down and drowns you.
Wow, I never heard of that one.
There's
No.
like there's a lot of those involving water, but I think that's where they found a lot of those bog men, right? Like they pull these guys out of like peat bogs in Ireland and Scotland, and
Yeah,
some kind of like bog sacrifice going on back then.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, people do weird stuff to each other because of their beliefs. Let's see what else we got here. The Lost Continent of Mu. Oh, okay. Here we go. Tina, she's the moderator here in the chat. She wants me to ask you, Bill, what do you know about puckwudgies?
Okay, that sounds Australian to me, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong now, but that sounds Australian. I'm not sure though.
I'm not. I think
I've heard of them.
I think they're like a goblin or something like that. Would I be correct there? Aquatic apes. Yeah, I've heard about them too. Let's see. Okay, here we go. What are the most important books to read about these conspiracy theories? What is actually happening in the world and who's running it? What's accurate and best research? Well, okay, there's a big difference between what is worth reading and what you should read. I think personally, there's like foundational works that people should probably read. Of course, Behold a Pale Horse is one of them. I think David Icke's book, what's the hell's that called? His big one, his like 1998 book, something about the world you don't know or whatever. Also, The 12th Planet by Zachariah Sitchin. I think you should read the Book of Lies by Crowley. There's a lot of this stuff that you should read. It's a giant reading list. We can go on forever. Even like some works of literature I think are important to read. Anything by Manly P. Hall or Blavatsky. Like if you really want to understand this stuff from a well-rounded way, like I try to read I read about a lot of occult literature, I guess. And occult doesn't necessarily mean satanic or evil. Occult means secret. So it's kind of like, I'll put it to you like this. Let's use a religion, for example. So let's say I join a church, just any old church. We're not even going with a specific religion. I have to go through an initiation process before I'm a full member of that church. And different churches have different kind of rituals. You know what I mean? Some people might dunk your head in water. Some people might pour the water over your head. Some people might have you recite some kind of thing. There's different things. Might anoint your head with oil or whatever. Tons of different ways to express religious ritual. But the day before I seek conversion to a new religion, most of that religion to me is a cult. Not meaning it's sinister, not meaning it's evil. It means it's unknown because I haven't learned about that religion yet. It's the same way a person who's raised in a faith experiences it differently than someone who's not of the same faith. You just have a different experience because you're brought up with this different system. So I think in that regard, it's deep. It's a deep thing, you know. It's a deep personal thing that we look at here. So I don't know. It's complicated, isn't it? That's it. There's free speech and there's hate speech. They're both the same thing, Tina. Hate speech is free speech. I firmly believe that myself. It's not pleasant, but that's why we have freedom of speech. So people can say ugly, terrible things. Because once we put a yardstick on who says what is wrong, it's a slippery slope to censoring everything. So like I don't want people saying certain stuff in my comments. So yeah, I'll kick you because that's my prerogative. And you know, I don't think everybody else should have to put up with your unsolicited bullshit opinions. You know, if you're participating, if you're not raising a ruckus, then I don't care. But you know, if your sole goal is to just be a shitlord, like, look, I get it. It's not like I don't shitpost and stuff, but you know, I don't got to put up with it. Okay. If you're from the earth and you're not leaving, you have to deal with the same stuff as the rest of us. Yeah, that's right. The technology we now possess needs to be released to help all mankind. You know what? I don't know. Have you come across that? You think there's a lot of suppressed technology out there?
I don't know. I haven't researched it.
I'm kind of the impression that there's like, you know, stuff that I'm assuming that there's kind of prototypes that exist out there, either with, you know, people like DARPA or Skunkworks or, you know, MIT, you know, some of these research labs, they got to have some kind of technologies that are years ahead of what we see in the marketplace.
Right.
I think that's absolutely, you know, that's absolutely to be expected. These guys are constantly innovating and developing new things to kind of stay in business. I just saw what's this? Amazon's got a new thing that's like their it's kind of like their Echo thing, but it's got a camera on it. It's called like Amazon Eye. Like, yo, what's going on here? Are we really? Does everybody will live in a crazy sci-fi future where we're always watched and it's Mad Max every time you step out the house? I don't get it. I don't get it. I thought that by now we'd be some rudimentary Star Trek civilization, but I ain't got no flying car, man. They lied to me. Where the hell's my jetpack? Yeah, tons of suppressed tech. Valiant Thor. Oh. You know what I say about space aliens? They got to go back. And if that guy's still around here, they should boot himself back to Venus.
He has a 500-year lifespan, and they do. And from the sources I've read, they do say he visits occasionally.
I had done a video about the Hoover Dam and a Stargate located in it, but I've also heard that Valiant Thor's spaceship is parked at Lake Mead.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's something I came across while I was doing the Stargate stuff, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty odd. Why Lake Mead, a man-made lake that they built in the desert
with tons of college kids partying on the shore?
Yeah. Oh well, we'll have to get a boat, go out and investigate for his spaceship then. We're here for the spaceship. Yeah, okay. FDA has taken recipes from people who have discovered natural cures on the grounds that they, the inventor of these natural food remedies, are not licensed practicing doctors. Yeah, I don't know. Recipes. How can you steal a recipe? I mean, you'd have to like erase somebody's mind so they couldn't make it. You just put it on the internet. I mean, I could see maybe, you know, if you're inventing a time cube or something crazy, but
Time Cube. What a good name for a radio play.
Oh, there you go. Find out. Oh, there we go. Hoover Dam. Yeah, Hoover Dam. It's wild stuff. You can't patent recipes. No, that's why you got to hide them. That's why you got to hide your 11 herbs and spices in a suitcase handcuffed to somebody's wrist. Now, I think in the Transformers movie, they had a secret location in Hoover Dam. Those Transformers movies, they touch on those two things, the Hoover Dam, and I think one is touches on Antarctica as well. Also, the Marinara Trench. No, the Mariana Trench. The Marinara Trench. What the hell? I had stuffed shells tonight. Pretty good. Pretty good. Stuffed shells, a couple breadsticks is good stuff. Had pretty good sauce. Pretty good sauce. Do-do-do-do. Pete strikes me as being sober now. I'm always sober. It's been 18 months since I had a drink. I'm usually what I like to call sleep drunk. That's where you're up so damn long, you start seeing and hearing shit. Yeah, well, this did get off topic, but we're going to come back around to it because while I was on topic, everybody was talking about Pizzagate and other frivolous, vapid nonsense. So I'm like, I'm not going to keep pounding out on this if we're not actively engaging. So I mean, look, I'm not not a fucking snowflake. You don't care. I'll wait. I'll wait till you're ready. I'll wait. I'm playing. I'm a little sleep deprived, everybody. I'm a little sleep deprived. A long week. Long week. Cracked out a bunch. I had to get that 100th video up this week. 100 videos. God damn. So much work. I was talking to somebody today, and I mean, this is this to be the case. This stuff is not quick to do, This ain't like it's not like you just bang something out like this in 15 minutes. It takes a lot of time. Time I could be eating pizza, which is pretty much what I want to be doing all the time. What the fuck is going on in Antarctica? So I'll tell you what the fuck is going on in Antarctica. All this information comes from vetted sources that I have spoken to. I cannot vet the information to prove that it is accurate, but I have vetted the sources to prove they were who they said they were. So what I've heard is that all of this Antarctica stuff we've been banging a drum on for the last 7 months, 8 months, was utter disinformation. There is no connection between this Ark of Gabriel and Mecca. It's unrelated. The patriarch of the Russian church going to Antarctica was a PR deal. What's really going on down in Antarctica started with the Vela incident in 1979. The Vela incident was when 2 bright flashes were picked up by the Vela satellite over the skies of Antarctica on September 22nd, 1979. These were commonly believed to have been a nuclear test conducted by Israel and South Africa. U.S. tested the air. They found no atomic residue. Several other agencies of the government also concluded there was no nuclear test. But details of the event are still classified to this day. What I've heard from people who volunteered this information to me is that the Black Knight satellite was responsible for these flashes. And these pulses awakened what were previously discovered at some point in the 60s, but were believed to be statues that resembled what I was told initially, and we had narrowed this down after looking at some pictures, resembled an Egyptian god. So we looked at a bunch of pictures. And originally, this described to me kind of sounded like Anubis, but after we went through some photographs, we determined it resembled the Set beast, the Typhonic beast, this mythical animal that's depicted as the Egyptian god Set. These things activated. One of them activates in 79 and begins terraforming Antarctica. The common conception among people who are in the know about this is that this thing was looking for something. They weren't able to affect it with any kind of weapons. Nothing they could do could make this thing stop once it got started, but it's only active during 6 months of darkness in the Antarctic winter. In the summertime, these things stop as still as statues again. The first one got started in 79. It's been digging up others of its kind since. There is a connection between this and organism 46B, this shape-shifting thing, in some way. It hasn't really been made clear to me yet. But the idea is that this event in 79 activated this statue, which has essentially been described to me to be a biological machine that began terraforming Antarctica, and that is what we're seeing going on down there. The Ark of Gabriel is not as it's been described. It is a weapon. It is not named after the angel Gabriel. It is named after a CERN scientist. All right. His name is Dr. Gabriel. Oh, come on here. Let me close this. Dr. Gabriel Vincenziano. Veneziano. Pioneer of string theory. This Ark of Gabriel is some kind of weapon that uses frequency because nothing else they tried against these things worked. It somehow modulates frequency, uses sound as a weapon based on some kind of string theory on a microscopic atomic level, and it was able to do something to these things. I don't know. From what I'm hearing, John Kerry was down there when they activated it. I don't know if they were trying to stop these machines, scare these machines. I don't know if these things have any kind of intelligence or if they're just kind of like a snowblower, kind of mindless thing just doing what it does. I have no idea. I'm still filtering a lot of this information. What I do know is that even NASA spoke about terraforming the moon with robots. So what we're seeing here are non-human biological devices, some kind of self-aware Mars rover, but I don't know how much intelligence these things possess. But we should be looking into CERN physicist Gabriel Vincenziano, the pioneer of string theory. That is the Ark of Gabriel. It's nothing to do with an angel. It's named after a CERN physicist. And I think the connection between CERN and Antarctica raises questions that we need to look at if this is the kind of work we're looking into. So that's what I got going on with that. I don't know what you guys think of this.
What would the object be of terraforming the moon?
Well, I guess if you wanted to create a moon base, that's what their plan was. It seems to me that it would probably be easier to build shelter than it would be to terraform the moon. But you find this information from NASA, from MIT, from some of these different environmental groups regarding terraforming and biodomes and biomes and creating artificial environments. So this isn't like out of the realm of even human technology. So if we're thinking about even weather manipulation, the HARP array, extreme low frequencies, what are these people able to accomplish with these various satellite arrays? I mean, even SETI, we're told that that's to listen to space, but for all we know, that could be generating some kind of signal to mask the Earth from these species, to hide the fact that we're here. And I'm 100% behind the idea that we should not be broadcasting signals out into space. We should not be making a lot of noise and letting things know that we're out here. I do not trust space aliens. I don't know if they are from space or from other dimensions or they're time travelers, but they need to go back. Is CERN trying to kill the Set Beast? From my understanding, CERN was where the weapon was developed, and it's the only thing they could do to affect these creatures. It's like it operates on fundamental principles of string theory. So I think that it affects reality. No, we should not be trying to contact aliens. Name something controversial that is no doubt yet widely doubted. Oh, man, that's a good one. Oh, you want to take this one or should I?
You first.
All right. I'll set the standard real. I'll make it real bad, so whatever you say is okay. What do I think is controversial that is no doubt but widely doubted? All right. I think one of the most controversial things that is without a doubt real, but is widely doubted, is that there are already life forms currently on the planet that look human but are not, that they are either advanced machines from the future or from outside of reality or perhaps from another planet. I think there are already things that have infiltrated the Earth. I think they're already here. I don't know if they're just observing. I don't know if they're interfering. I tend to believe that they they realize that we don't really have much recourse to stop them. So I think if their intention was entirely sinister, they would have already acted on that.
I'd probably have to go with the Gospel of Thomas, which I do believe is the word of Jesus. In fact, I've read it myself, and it's just remarkable. These are sayings sayings that Christ made that you can't find anywhere else. Some of them, and some of them are reflected in the Gospels. So that's probably mine.
No, you know what? That's a really good topic. I'm a big fan of a lot of the Apocrypha and the Pseudepigrapha, the banned from the Bible stuff, the Nag Hammadi, the Gnostic texts. And yeah, the Gospel of Thomas, I think that's called the Secret Sayings of Jesus, right?
Right.
Yeah, that one. Actually, for those of you who might not know, there was a movie that was influenced by the Gospel of Thomas called Stigmata. So check that out. I forget who the hell's in it. And it came out around the same time as Kim Basinger in that Bless the Child movie. That's the movie where Kim Basinger forgot how to act. Totally forgot about it. And it's got that actor who does the one thing with the eye. It's always kind of like goofy. It's got curly hair. Dune is the mother of CERN, and it's in northern USA. I'm not familiar with Dune. I knew that there was a planned super collider they were building in like Texas or something back in the 90s, but they never finished it.
Right.
Patricia Arquette and Gabriel Byrne. Thank you. That's who was in Stigmata. That's a pretty decent flick. You know what? I think Stigmata is an interesting topic too. Padre Pio and all that. But being raised Catholic, a lot of that smells and bells, ghosts, and the ghost of the angels and saints is always going to be a little bit of a fascination for me.
I believe Stigmata is one of the requirements for sainthood.
Oh, not anymore.
Anymore?
Pope Francis decided that you don't need to have a miracle to be a saint anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're just lowering the bar there for everything. What do I think of the MIB theory? Not so much the theory of the people that investigate UFOs. I do think the Men in Black exist. I've heard them described in two different ways, though. Sometimes they are the aliens, and other times they are the government. In the 50s, more often they're depicted as kind of Asiatic in appearance. So I think that in the 50s they were kind of described as aliens who came after you saw them and kind of shook you down, told you not to talk. But who knows? These could have been aliens working for the government. The Femri paradox, why there's no sign of life. Yeah, the Great Barrier, that we may have been the first to cross it.
And it may be that the reason that we're not able to speak to people through SETI is that civilization lasts so short a time that the odds are against two civilizations occurring. They're able to talk to each other before they blow themselves up.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we can't. That's it. We eventually just wipe ourselves out. And I bet you that's happened across the universe hundreds of millions of times.
It's like this peak oil thing. We're using up all our oil right now. It's like almost like starting a culture in a petri dish. Eventually, that culture is going to eat up all the food, and then everything in that dish is going to die. They're animals. We're animals too.
Yeah, yeah. There was that famous experiment with the rats when they built that kind of super cage with hundreds of rats in it, and eventually their society collapses in on themselves, and they don't even want to get up to feed themselves anymore. They just get so lazy. It's like,
right.
Yeah, it's screwed. It's screwed, and there's like a fine line. Like, when do you start spending hundreds of dollars on prepping supplies and stocking your basement with everything you need for the apocalypse? Like, yeah, I don't know. You know what? I don't think too much of Tesla because he was coming out against some of the the proposals of the administration. And that's not, I mean, look, that's neither here nor there regarding his politics, but the reason he was coming out against these proposals is because they directly affected his pocketbook. You know what I mean? Like it hit him in the wallet. So, yeah, I mean, it's great this guy wants to build this Hyperloop that takes you from Philly to New York in 20 minutes, but how many tax breaks is the city going to give him to do that? How many subsidies is the state of Pennsylvania going to cough up for Elon Musk to do this? And that's the thing. I don't want to pay for it. That's a big issue we even have with our public transportation down here in southeastern Pennsylvania. The transit company that serves Philadelphia serves a broad section of the southern part of the state. And every couple of years they go broke and the state has to bail them out. And it's just like, yo, why is it $350 for a transfer, man? Like, what's going on? So yeah, it's not a perfect system. But yeah, this guy thinks he's Iron Man over here. He needs to cool it with some of his BS. Pope's new throne has demons all over it. Check it out. That's a whole topic for another day that I've got on the back burner here. Hyper subterranean trains are likely used underground and span from secret military bases. You know, I've read that a lot. You've come across that one, Bill, about the secret underground network of trains that run across the country from military bases and such?
No, what's that about?
Yeah, it all feeds into the idea that the military has these deep underground military bases and they're all secret and there's aliens working in them and stuff like that. All right. So let's take this discussion to the comments. I'm going to start kind of trying to drive this in a different direction here so we can get some real feedback regarding this topic. So listen, I kind of want to get a general idea. What do you guys think of this whole terraforming thing? I think that this honestly makes a lot more sense than what we've been hearing for the last year. I think really what we are seeing is the possibility of, well, non-human organisms, whether they be completely mechanical or only partially so, actively terraforming our planet. Speculated they're looking for something. Now, you know, with a lot of these beliefs regarding what's frozen down there, who knows what they're looking for? Maybe a civilization that is buried in ruin under the ice. I don't know. Maybe another life form. Who knows what's down there? Oh, yeah, no, I don't care for Tesla at all. I don't trust the guy. I think it's be wary. Be wary of men who promise you the future. I'm not ready to drink the Tesla Kool-Aid, man. Not at all. Elon Musk made his name off another, he made his back off another genius's name, right? Yeah, it is 1:55 a.m. Bill, Jesus Christ, we're still at it. It's a little late here. I told myself I was going to go this late tonight. So I'm gonna let you go. I want to thank you very much for appearing on the show with us today.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm really a big fan of your work. I recommend everybody go check out Bill and NightTerrors. He does a great job there. It's well thought out, well researched. Right on the he's always at the crest of the wave of the topic that is right at the forefront. And I mean, it's a go-to to get that information as it's breaking. So I want to thank you very much, Bill, for coming on.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for popping into the chat tonight. I guess it's a little more rough than usual. But yeah, this will be uploaded to YouTube. It'll be up in a bit. Just as a process. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to NightTerrors as well as the Creepy Little Book. And share this video or any of the videos on either channel with your interested friends and family who are looking in to know a little bit more, to look a little bit deeper. So this has been the Creepy Little Book, and featuring the wonderful Bill from Night Terror. Please go subscribe, go check out his content. It's fantastic. I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you all next week. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been the Creepy Little Book. I'm Pete, and until next time, stay creeped out.